Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here, and we're here for something special. Only one of two this year specials for 2021, or as we like to call it, Year 9 here on the channel. So, coming up in our second video, we're going to talk about the just excitement of 9 years, what that means, and take a look at some of the important things, including what this 3DS meant to the channel, this Beyblade, and this first ever 4G smartphone. But today we take a step back even further to 2011. Now it may seem like, well, 9 years ago was 2012, 2012. Why are you talking about 2011? Well, something important happened in 2011 that's never really ever been talked about on this channel. And I feel like 2011, being 10 years ago, this is a good moment to highlight it. So, I always say on this channel, the first moment of making YouTube videos, the first thing was sitting down with the 3DS, saying, welcome to my video about Beyblades, or whatever I said, and starting the battle. Showing them off, being like, oh, this is my Beyblade, this is the battle. But what actually happened was that nothing else different actually happened. The thing was, the first time that I ever really sat down and produced a video was the year before. Now, I don't have this file of this video. It's on an old computer somewhere in my basement, probably. And that computer has viruses, so I'm not pulling that video out. But it's probably somewhere on the computer in some sort of file. And this video that never got mentioned really sets things up nicely for what happened the year later in 2012 when I sat down and uploaded my first YouTube video. So, of course, the year is 2011. I was in 7th grade. And at my school, it was very big to do research projects. You know, I went to a charter school, so we did things a little differently than other schools. So quite frequently, we had to do research projects, big presentations. Get up there in front of the whole class, in front of 20, 21 other people, and your teacher, so 22 people. And your parents would also come to if they wanted to. So, I've done many projects in school, including things like cats. That was my first project ever. When I was in kindergarten, did a project on cats, including the length of my cat's tails that I had at the time. I did a project on whales. I did a project on Subarus. I did a project on... I don't know what else I did a project on. Did I ever do one on NASCAR? I feel like I should have. I had to have done one on NASCAR at some point. No way I didn't. That was my shit back in the day and still is. If I didn't do a project on that, I don't know what happened. I did a project on Nintendo, I remember that. But, in 7th grade, I convinced my teachers that a Pokedex was a research source. Which then got me to do a project on Pokemon and also on Beyblades. It was two-parter there. How the hell I got that apart? No idea. But in this two-part research project, one of the main things was, of course, Pokemon. And again, I got the teacher to somehow accept a Pokedex as a research source, because I remember bringing them to school. And showing them to the teacher and saying, this is my resource. Which I also had to find some of the things on the internet. But again, this is 2011. We didn't have the internet yet. We didn't have... it wasn't... Again, there wasn't the same... Everything's on the internet. It was still like that transitioning period. Because, the internet really started to pop in, like... People started getting computers in late 90s, early 2000s. So it only had been about 10 years since that was like a thing. When I'm making this video, it's been 20 years, since people have started to have the internet. So there's 10 more years. At that point, the internet was, for me, something I hadn't always necessarily used. Because I feel like people that are my age, 21, 22, maybe 20, maybe 19, people that are that age did grow up without necessarily having the internet for everything. I think if you're younger than that, if you're like 17, 18 or younger, you probably don't necessarily remember having the internet. Because I think that a lot of the things, and I see this in like articles and stuff, people born from like 1997 to like 2000 are in this weird group, sort of between being a millennial, but you're not like super Gen Z. You're kind of in the middle. You're like bit millennial, bit Gen Z. And I definitely feel like I'm in that. Like, I see things that are like, BuzzFeed puts up their quality articles about like, if you're a millennial, you remember these things, and I see it. And then there's some things that are like, you're Gen Z, remember this. I'm like, I remember that. So I'm in like that time in between there. Either way, in school, the internet necessarily wasn't where you got all your information from. So we did have to have books, and actually that was a heavier focus, was getting more resources from books than it was from the internet. Now for school projects, I remember when I was in high school, it didn't matter if you had a book. They were like, cool, you have a book. What do you find on the internet? it was a flip, basically, in that 6 or 7 year period. It went from my projects in 7th grade were, cool, what book sources do you have? And you have one internet source. Awesome. You have 3 book sources and an internet source. Then in high school, this became, cool, all your resources from the internet? Brilliant. So I'm sure now it's just completely like all internet. But back then, again, we had to find books. So finding books about Pokemon wasn't necessarily the easiest, because a lot of them are just, guidebooks to how to play the game or things about the Pokemon. But back to how this video happened. So I had done this project on Pokemon. Believe it was very early 2011 when the project was already done. And, oh yeah, because I'm trying to think of like the order of it for my projects. I know I did one on Google after it, because I did Pokemon, Beyblades, and Google. Then I did another project, then I did Constellations to just play with Beyblades in school. It was ridiculous. I was in my school hallway playing with Beyblades in 2012. Brilliant time. Which also, I guess, the story kind of leads to. So, in 2011, actually, there was the student teacher at my school turned out to be who I would work for years later. If you remember, a few years ago, we talked a lot about Drew's honeybees. We had Drew from that, from his business. In some of it is, we did one. It was a video that we actually put up on the company channel and on this channel, a vlog going to an event. And I believe there's one other video that we did with him that was on here. So he was a student teacher at my school because he was trying to be a teacher at that time. And then obviously he went on to make his own business with his bees. Which I do remember back then, he was talking about bees, and he didn't show up to school for many days because he got stung by bees and almost died. I remember that happened. He got stung, so became allergic and almost died to the bees. And he was not there for many days. And I remember being told that by one of the teachers, because he was like, of all the teachers, when I was talking to him all the time, and I was his favorite student. I mean, at the time he didn't tell me that, but he told me that later on. I mean, we got along very well. Um, and he helped me with these projects. He helped me with multiple different things. There was one thing where he had like this really epic mechanical pencil. I'm like, bro, that's totally cool. And if I did go in the project, he gave me one, which I did. I killed it. Either way, with this project, he helped me in the video. So what was this video? This video was a Pokemon one based on 3rd gen. I kind of took the story of 3rd gen and sort of played it out, directed different scenes. My family was involved in it as well. I had different, like, the plush Pokemon. Sort of like we got the Sobble here. Of course, it didn't exist. This didn't exist in 2011. It's 2019 Pokemon. The Scraggy that I have over there did exist, though. I believe that Scraggy was in it. Maybe? I know what a Trico and a Latias and a Latios. I remember those. But I just played the whole thing out. It was a fantastic video. We did the whole region, and that's really where I got the passion for making content. It was fantastic. It was just, that project really got me to make content. It got me to create those different things. I mean, I'd never done a video before, and that was, besides like a little shitty video on my phone. I mean, I made a video on this. Like, come on. So this is the first time I really made a video, edited, all that stuff. And it was pretty good. I think it went over decent in the class. But yeah, I know that was the first time. First time I ever made content, and I believe there was one other video that I might have done. I don't remember if it was before or right around the beginning. I did a school project on food trucks the year. That's what the other project was. I was trying to think, what was it? So in 7th and 8th grade, I did Pokemon and Beyblades, then Google, then food trucks, then constellations, which all kind of counted in there. I mean, we had, I also called it Truck of Food. Fantastic name. That was my food truck. But again, all the connection goes to where I was living, playing with Beyblades. Made a video because I learned about Beyblades when I moved there. I lived in this one place for like 9-10 months. Learned about Beyblades from Trayvon, who became my friend for many years. We made YouTube videos together, and things were just wild. Like that 2011 time period set up things for like the next decade. Like I learned about Beyblades because in 2010 I learned about Pokemon, or I knew about Pokemon. I started getting interested in it, so I learned about Pokemon and Beyblades in 2011, which then led to my project about Pokemon and Beyblades, which were a video, which then I'm interested in videos. And then I did this project with Drew, who then I ended up working with for a year and a half, which then I stopped working with him, which then I got another job, which then I got yeeted from, which then we had a global pandemic, which then led to me working where I currently work, which led to me being here right now. I don't know where I was going with that, but it was kind of wild that to think back to those like few moments in 2010, 2011 that did sort of impact so much that I didn't think about in the moment. I didn't think in 2010 the kid giving me Pokemon Sapphire and saying, here, play this, you'll like it. And in 2011, Trayvon riding a scooter down to because there was two different sort of developments of where I lived. He lived in the top part, which is like an older area, and they built a lower down, newer area, which I moved into. And he rode his scooter down and said, anybody here play Pokemon? And I said, yeah, I do. Which, that turned into me playing Beyblades, which again turned into me making a school video to then turn into me making internet videos, which turned into me getting a job. It's wild. You don't think of these things in the moment, but it's God, it's crazy. It's just absolutely wild to think of those things all combined. But then again, in 2012, I don't remember if it was pre-YouTube, right around the same time, but I made another video for my food truck project, which again, it was good. It wasn't the same. I think the first one really got to capture like the essence of what I was going for. The food truck one, which was me saying, let's fuck around and make a video. We had Truck of Food, which was such a food truck. It was in my kitchen of my house. Where I just made a little bit of food. Then we had outside, we had Drew's dogs. He brought like a bucket loader thing that I believe is his dad's. He brought it from his parents' house with a grill in the front of it because his parents didn't live that far down the road to my house, and then grilled some hot dogs in the driveway, and that was Drew's dogs. But there's a picture of that on the Drew's Honeybee social media page on Instagram. I believe it still exists. I don't use Instagram anymore, but I believe it's on there. Still, I don't think he took it off. I mean, it's not like we stopped working out of issues. It was just business things. We've discussed it actually recently. We're not going to get that in this video, but it wasn't like issues with each other. Put it that way. So we're still good in that regard. But yeah, that was the original video, 2012 or 2011, the pre-YouTube video. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in the next one.